just a little bit about how we can make the most of remote learning.
Thank you. Good evening. So thinking now that we have some great numbers of pupil engagement, I want to think a little bit about how we make the most of remote learning, how we make sure that students are learning as much as possible while they're away from us. The model that we've got in place allows us to focus on two important areas. There's an academic focus. That's made up of the mixture of live lessons and pre-recorded lessons. There's the notes that students make in their exercise book, which is the really important long-term record of all that's happening while students are learning from home. And there are the assignments and quizzes, which is how teachers understand just how much students are learning. Alongside that academic focus is the pastoral focus. And you'll be very, very familiar with that. That's the part where we make follow-up calls every day if we're worried about a gap in a pupil's learning, for example. There are the year group assemblies that give a chance for all of the students in each of their year groups to come together with their heads of year and remain connected and a part of that community. And then there are the additional online resources that are made available through the school website, whether that's helping pupils access their work or helping pupils engage with some of the mental health resources that we've shared there. To help us help you and your pupils remain focused on those two key areas, you are all receiving your weekly report card sent by Mr. Rimmer. Every week we're hoping to be sharing more and more information with you about your students' progress, your child's progress as they move through this. There's lots of information on there. It tells you how many live lessons pupils attended. It tells you how many assignments were completed. It tells you how many assignments were not attempted. And as an important distinction, it tells you what assignments needed additional work. Where was there a gap? Where were improvements required? It highlights where assignments were submitted late, where perhaps the students need more time, more support managing their time. And excitingly, it tells you where assignments or lessons demonstrated an exemplary contribution on the part of the students. Increasingly, you're seeing data shared also about students' success in the quizzes, what scores they've got, and that's throughout Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4. From next week, we'll also be adding to that the number of live lessons where students were logged in but appeared inactive. That's really helpful for us, again, in helping us monitor just how much students are learning whilst we're away. So lots and lots of information shared with you weekly. I want us to think now about how we can make use of that report card. As a parent at home, it's a powerful tool for you to support with a weekly review for your child. We can use it to address the week that's passed, but also use it to help create some routines and some habits for the week ahead, so that we can have higher levels of lessons attended and higher numbers of lessons where pupils demonstrated an exemplary contribution. Reflecting on the week that's finished, on that Friday afternoon when you receive the report card, there are two main areas that you might want to look at. If work is incomplete or if it's missing, the first thing that students should be doing is going back and checking that the work has been reattempted. If it's marked incomplete, teachers are going to reassign that work, so students need to re-engage with it and try and get their marks up. And make sure that they've submitted all of those assignments. If, instead of it saying that it was incomplete or missing, the quiz scores were low, you can help your child by making sure that they watched the pre-recorded lessons. They can always be found under Files Class Assignments for every subject, and that's where the teachers are recording all of the content that they need in order to be able to access the quizzes and the assignments and complete them well. Students should always be completing notes in their exercise book as they watch those videos. So there's a helpful long-term record, like I mentioned earlier, but it's also a useful way of checking how well students have engaged with the lessons over the course of a week. It's also, that weekly report card, an important tool in preparing for the week ahead. On a Friday afternoon, the heads of year will send out the timetable for the week ahead. We're bringing that forward, we're sharing it on a Friday so that you have time to prepare at home and be aware of when the live lessons are, for example, and when do you need to perhaps provide the quieter workspaces for pupils so that they can engage well with their learning. And then daily you'll receive the day's schedule. You'll get that email at 8:30, students get it at 8:32, and that allows you to identify how many live lessons you might need to make time for and make space for. Those live lessons will always take place between 9:30 and 1:30. It means then students have time before the live lessons, so from 8:30 to 9:30, after the live lessons from 1:30 till 2, and any time in between, when they're not in a live lesson, to work on the assignments. We've been working really carefully to look at the timetable. We've changed it week on week to make sure that there's a balance and that students aren't feeling overwhelmed. Where that's been really difficult, because we are working with a slightly shorter school day, the heads of years will be in touch. If students have lots of deadlines, we're able to work with pupils to make sure that we can extend that deadline so that everybody is still able to get that work done, teachers are still able to monitor it, and the quality can still be really good. At the end of each day, as parents and pupils should be looking at the assignments tab too. Ideally, it will be clear. Pupils will have submitted all of their assignments, they'll have completed them to a high standard, and teachers will just be busy marking them off as completed and as exemplary examples of work on the tracker. If teachers are concerned, they're going to reassign them between 2 and 3 o'clock. That means when pupils look on there, they will see those tasks reassigned. They need to re-engage with them as quickly as possible while the learning from the lesson in the morning is still fresh, and making sure they meet the next 9 o'clock deadline the following morning. You can also help check that pupils are better prepared to complete those assignments by checking through the exercise book and making sure that pupils were making notes on the lessons that were pre-recorded and the live lessons. When you look for the assignments, it will appear just as it does here on the screen. You'll be able to see how many assignments are outstanding and which of them have been completed. We want to make sure that that's clear every morning, ready for students to engage afresh with the